just wanted to launch a bit of a defence of David Moyes, really. Not to everybody. I know some people don't need this video, don't need to hear any of this at all. And it's not because of disappointment. I understand people are disappointed. I was disappointed that we lost to Nottingham Forest. It's not because I think that David Moyes doesn't make mistakes. I think he has made mistakes. I think he continues to make mistakes. However, I think what I do find odd, particularly bearing in mind after the first game, you can go and check the messages. There's messages on Hammers chat calling for David Moyes to be sacked. I think probably it's the small amount of credit that he has in the bank for the last 2 seasons. And I think it's the fact that seems to carry so little weight, yet his performance in the transfer window carries more. Basically, him being slow to bring players in is more of a reason to sack him than actually 2 really good seasons and qualifying for Europe back-to-back is to keep him. Basically, transfer window is more powerful than actual results and kicking the ball on the football pitch. Now, it was really after yesterday's game against Nottingham Forest, and it was really in the chat. And I understand there were disappointed people there, but actually, no, it wasn't disappointment. There were people really, really angry. And then when that sort of spills out and goes onto social media, not just that, there's people falling out with one another because they have a different footballing opinion. And that, I must be honest, I struggle with. I switch off like that. I mean, I literally do switch off. I mute a lot of it. And if you ever see me inactive in the comments on these videos, it's when it gets nasty. I just switch off. Don't like it at all. And I think it's it's a massive shame because we all want the same thing, basically, don't we? It's just I think everybody's got different ways on how they think we should get there. And I read a lot of people saying that was the worst performance they've seen. And I just, look, everybody's welcome to their own opinion. I just don't think that's the case. I didn't think we were brilliant. I thought, bearing in mind our 2 best players, and by the way, our 2 best players are significantly better than any of the others. Just go back to last season. If somebody had told you we'd have accepted a £120 million bid for Declan Rice, you wouldn't have been surprised. You'd have thought, okay, that's probably about right. If somebody had told you that, Arsenal would bid 75 million for Jarrod Bowen, you wouldn't have thought, oh, that's a lot. He's only worth 20. You would have thought, yeah, actually, he's that good. That's probably about right. So our 2 best players are so far in advance of all our other players. It's unreal. Look, I'll leave it to you to decide whether they're world class or not, but they're very, very good. If those 2 players don't play and don't perform, then West Ham, are just a bog standard Premier League team. That's how I think. So I think yesterday was not a great performance, but it wasn't devoid of everything. I thought there was enough zip, there was enough chances to get something from the game. Realistically, I thought that game could have finished 3-3. I also think we've got a defensive crisis on our hands. Now, let's get this right. Is David Moyes partially responsible for that defensive crisis? Yes, he is. He absolutely is. That being said, I think we've probably handled it all right. To come out against Man City and Nottingham Forest with a complete ramshackle and makeshift defence, conceding 3 goals, it ain't great. But, but I saw enough promise there in the rest of the team. I think this is not going to be a season of relegation. And that's sort of the comments that you're dealing with. But the real question I want to ask is for the people that want him gone, who comes in? I mean, who comes in? I want to deal with one of them because there's a name that keeps getting thrown out. And I'll tell you now, it's Graham Potter. And I'll tell you what, he's probably my favourite manager outside of the top 6, whatever you want to call it. But he wouldn't come. He just wouldn't. And I'll discuss why in just a second. Before I do, have you been playing our Fantasy Football League, by the way? If you haven't, it's on Spitch. You can download Spitch down below. I've done all right. There's still one more game to play because Liverpool are playing Crystal Palace tonight. I've done all right. We've about 50 people sign up to our Hammers Chat mini league. So when you join Spitch, in the search bar, search for Hammers Chat, join the mini league, and you can join in by basically, pitting your team against myself and Gio at the moment. I'm 17th. I think I'm 17th at the moment out of 50. I'm quite pleased with that, but I've got 3 players playing tonight. Nunes is playing, I think Anderson's playing, and Abire Eze playing in tonight's game. That's my team. You change your team every week. It's on the game week basis, basically. So, anyway, the game is completely free to play, but it is also got a facility where you can basically put a stake down to win greater amounts of money if you do. There's up to £70,000 worth of prizes each and every week on Spitch. There's so many different fantasy football games on it. It's far more detailed than the fantasy football you're probably used to playing. Takes into account throw-ins and tackles and all that other stuff. So even if you're a defensive midfielder, you could possibly score better if you're doing loads of tackles, loads of interceptions, loads of headers, than a forward who might have scored 1 goal, something like that. It's a very, very, very good fantasy football game. Check it out. Click the link below and come and join us on our mini league. As far as concerns the Potter one, so I hear it a lot. Potter wouldn't join us. And I'll tell you why he wouldn't join us. If you're unsure about what's gone on at Brighton, just read a couple of articles. Read how Brighton got to where they are. It's the whole infrastructure. It's the owners. It's the sporting director. It's the footballing director, who, funny enough, has been poached to go to Newcastle last season. It's the scouting network. That has been built up brick by brick in a very, very certain way. They all pull in the same direction. Everybody knows the kind of players that Graham Potter wants. Everybody knows it, right? You can't just sack David Moyes and take Graham Potter and then bung him in at West Ham. It wouldn't work. It really wouldn't work because we don't have the players in there. We don't have the scouting. Basically, we'd have to start again. All that stuff that David Moyes has been trying to build up, as David Moyes like to say, layer upon layer upon layer, would all have to be torn up again. We would basically start from scratch. And I'll tell you what, then I actually think as good as Graham Potter is, he's not going to look around and find these players to play in the style that he likes. I think we may well find ourselves scraping around in relegation until he got it right. We might have to go down before we come up. And does anybody really want that? I think David Moyes deserves a little bit more. Look, David Moyes may fail. I suspect he won't. I suspect David Moyes is the best manager we can probably get at the moment. None of the top 6 managers will come to us. They just won't. This is not, West Ham is not an attractive club to come and manage. It's really not. I'll tell you, there's one way that we could make it even less attractive, and that's to sack a manager 2 games into the season. I mean, at that point, basically, you'd take another 50% of the managers would take one look at West Ham and think, actually, I don't think I'll bother there. I don't think I'll bother there. For the same reason, a lot of managers over the last 5 to 6 years have turned down Watford. Watford basically only get desperate managers in because they know they've got a very, very small shelf life there. But David Moyes at least deserves the opportunity, I think, to lose those games. He really does. You can't sack him because you think we're going to get relegated. You know, look, if it gets to Christmas and we're in the bottom 3, fine. But I don't really think we will be. That's not to say that there aren't concerns. I really do. I have my own concerns about David Moyes, and I voice them on here regularly. I really do. I think he doesn't understand sometimes the urgency of the situation. His caution is stifling. I really do. It really concerns me. His caution, the amount of time he takes over signings, the amount of time he takes to implement them and put them in the team. The amount of time he takes to make a substitution. Sometimes what were they yesterday, warming up after 57 minutes? They came onto the pitch at 67 minutes. It's not unusual, as Tom Jones might sing, for that to happen. It does happen. It happens plenty. There are frustrations with David Moyes, but he should, for me, he has a lot of credit in the bank. And the lot of credit in the bank is the last 2 seasons. I've never known back-to-back seasons of plus goal difference, qualifying for Europe. I just haven't known it. Honestly, I never have. And it's really weird as a West Ham fan. And it's not like my memory's any longer than anybody else, but I do remember going into almost every season thinking, I hope we don't get relegated. Now, and I'm not even feeling that now. You know, we lost to Nottingham Forest. I don't think we deserve to lose. I really don't think we deserve to lose there. As I mentioned yesterday, I thought Fabianski had a really good game, but it could have been 3-3 that game. But give us one more central defender and that result just changes around. But, you know, David Moyes alluded to it in his press conference. He said, I thought we were unlucky. Well, I thought we were unlucky as well. We hit the bar and whatever. Now, my point about David Moyes would be you can mitigate that bad luck by doing things a little bit better. There was things David Moyes could have done to impact that game, could have changed the tactics. I really don't think that he deserves for so many people to be calling for him to be sacked at the moment. But it's an opposite football opinion, and I think every opposite football opinion is fair. I think where it breaks down is when you start insulting people who have the opposite footballing opinion to you. And I think then it's like you've lost the argument. There is no argument anymore. You know, there's no one's going to stick around and be, you know, be insulted, basically. There's no longer a debate. You've had an argument, you've lost your temper. And there's so much of it yesterday. Absolutely, so much of it. Moyes got a really, really tough week. He really got a tough week. He's got to bring players in. We cannot face Brighton with that defensive line there. They will pull us to shreds. Brighton worry the hell out of me at the best of times, as you notice if you watch the channel all the time. Brighton really, really worry me. What we can't have is another excuse that, oh, well, it's been a tough week to get players in because we've got a European game as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying, we won't get through in that European game. I mean, I do. Sorry, I always, but I'm sort of, I'm bewildered really. That's why I start grabbing me head and doing all that sort of body language. I don't think that's the case. I think we can have more positivity than that. I don't think it's got to be total doom and gloom. I don't think everybody's got to be totally depressed by West Ham at the moment. I do believe we are a couple of signings away from being a decent team. I think the solutions to make us better are there. They're easy enough. It is to get another defender in. I said I'd talk about it today. We really lack some creativity in the middle of the park. I've already spoken for nearly 12 minutes now. So I think we'll deal with that another day. But we definitely need somebody in the middle of the park. But what I was saying about fixing the things, they should be easy enough. Is to get Bowen playing. Bowen does not look in good form. Bowen does not look fit. It's weird. He looked the fittest and the sharpest in pre-season. So I think it's probably something quite simple. Declan Rice is a class act. Declan Rice won't play like that all the time. Declan Rice, brilliant player. Sort that out. Get those two fit and firing. Get a centre-back, even just one centre-back, then suddenly we start to look a much, much better team. I could see things happening. I could see him getting Souček into better positions. It wasn't all bad. I've got to be honest, I'm not confident of beating Brighton. I never am. But if we won in Europe and we did beat Brighton, and let's be fair, it is Brighton and not Brazil, right? If we did beat Brighton, and David Moyes owes him one. David Moyes owes Potter one. He really does. Potter's got his number all the time tactically. David Moyes constantly talks about being, about evolving and learning and improving. Trends in the game and all this sort of stuff. And I do wonder if sometimes he might know an awful lot about some of this stuff, but then tactically maybe he's not always with the trends of the things that are changing. Tactics, I think we need to be a little bit more versatile. I think we need to be a little bit more flexible. I don't sense David Moyes lacks urgency for all the reasons I've said, but also I feel David Moyes lacks urgency when he's chasing a game as well. David Moyes seems to think that this can all be turned around from 70 minutes onwards. So a lot of proactive managers deal with stuff way before that. As I say, he's not beyond criticism. He's really not. However, I think some of it just goes over the top, and I just feel that you may disagree, and I know lots of people will disagree. I just feel he's got more credit than that. He should have more credit. At what point did actual results on the pitch become less important than transfer activity? I don't understand. Surely you buy players to make you better on the pitch. And yes, I understand people will come back, we've lost our first two games. Well, then my comeback is, but look at the last two seasons. And I know we didn't finish the end of last season great. And I understand that it was a thin squad and more should be done. I get all of that. I really do. But I don't know. If I had to put it to percentage, it's almost like his actual results on the pitch in the last two seasons count for 20% of credit in the bank, and the importance of the transfer window is 80%. It's sort of like that. I don't know, they go hand in hand, and I don't. I was aware I started doing this video because people are so angry and so bad tempered at the moment. And after that result, I thought, I'm going to do this video and get a load of stick after this. But you know what? I sort of. Yeah, it would be wrong not to do the video because people, are angry and whatnot. I wasn't happy. I was very disappointed with that result. We all want the best for West Ham. We really do. But I think there's one thing to remember. That's David Moyes wants the best for West Ham. And David Moyes is probably looking at that team and seeing how he can tweak it and seeing how he can do things. He doesn't help himself with a starting lineup. Nobody was particularly pleased not to see Cornet in the starting lineup. But that being said, he played Ben Rama in there. Ben Rama was sensational. I mean, if Ben Rama plays like that every game, Cornet don't get in the team on the left wing. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, there are some positives there. few things to sort out. But you know what? Onwards and upwards. I just the next month is going to be really, really important. But we need action now. David Moyes has got to stop. David Moyes just got to be more proactive in the transfer window, in his starting lineups, his substitutions. He's a good manager. He's a good coach. He clearly is. But we don't have any more time. Now there's urgency and things need to be done immediately.